Hi, I'm Dr. Petty with Carolina Chiropractic. I am here with a personal trainer today, and we're going to be going over a couple of postural exercises and stretches to help. We're going to do our first set is going to be things that we can all do in the office and not really feel crazy about, and then a second set are probably things that you might be more embarrassed if you're doing in the office. You might want to try at home, or it might be a little bit more challenging. If you don't mind introducing yourself.
Yeah, I'm Jaden. I'm a personal trainer at TrueFit in Southern Pines.
Like 4 doors down.
Yeah, about 5-minute walk.
The first stretch that we're going to talk about, because this is all about postural exercises, things that we've all been sitting at a computer more during COVID, and we've all been doing either more tablet or phone time or whatever else. And so posture's been bad. And so the first one we're going to do is called a wall angel. If you don't mind stepping over here, you're going to put your feet against the wall, your butt against the wall, your back against the wall, your head against the wall. And some people, even just doing this, will feel like they want to fall forward. And then the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to put your arms up, and you're going to kind of like make like a snow angel. So that you ideally want the wrists to touch, the elbows to touch, the head to touch, the shoulders to touch, the butt to touch, and the heels to touch. And then what you're going to do is you're going to raise them up. Now, I'm not going to raise my hands all the way up because, well, I'm not going to untuck my shirt and show off my midriff on YouTube. But, so you go up as high as you can, keeping everything touching, and you feel how your elbows want to come off the wall due to tightness in the pecs and everything else. And then you can bring your elbows down towards your waist, right? And when you get down here, your arms don't want to stay perpendicular. You want to keep them perpendicular. And you can see how, like, this one is probably a little easier than this one because you have your wrist wants to come away. And that's all little things that we're trying to work on and trying to help do them as well. And sometimes I'm like, oh, that got a little tight. I must have slept with my shoulder in an odd position or whatever. But, yeah, and so like on this, if this is your first time ever doing it, I never suggest more than 5 of these. So you just basically go slow up and down, about a 1 to 2 second count. And then that's gonna you'll really feel that in your shoulder blades and in between your shoulder blades, I guess is what I should say. And all those traps, rhomboids, tight muscles, and everything else. You feel that? And you feel how you want to, in order to compensate, kind of not keep your forearms as perpendicular, kind of bring them out just a little bit, which is fine. It's okay. You want to try to go as low as you can when you get down to it, and so forth, right? And what most people do when they can't get here is they start arching their back, and that's not the ideal move either. So if you start doing, what do you say? Yeah, so like when you get there, you want to keep that back flat, okay? All right, so the next stretch that we're going to show opens up the chest in a different way. It is a great stretch if you're struggling with the first to try. I call it a door frame stretch. It's also a corner stretch, but I can do it in a door frame because I have a 6'5" wingspan. You're going to start like this. Jaden, you probably can't quite span that, can you? No. Okay, all right, so we're going to go over to a corner and try in the corner. All right, so when you do this, again, you want to keep your forearms perpendicular and flat to the wall, and you're going to start typically above 90 degrees, and then you're going to lean in like so, and you should feel a nice stretch through your shoulders and chest, correct?
Yes.
Good, then you're going to come back, you hold that for about 3 to 5 seconds, and then you come to 90 degrees, and you go in, right? And you feel that as well, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, and then come back, and then you're going to go below 90. And again, keeping those forearms perpendicular, that's where some people start to lose it. And how's that feel? Good. Which one was the tightest for you?
Probably this one.
At 90?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, depending on our postures, has a little bit of different tightness. Some people say the highest, some people say the lowest. And you really want to try to make sure that that forearm stays perpendicular and flat. All right, so the next stretch we want to do is more for the sides of the neck. So we're going to stretch kind of the scalenes and a couple of things. The first one you want to take is your hand up underneath. Yep, and you're going to sit up straight. You're going to take your opposite hand and we're going to bring a stretch over here. And you should feel that right through here, correct? Yep. And you can kind of see the muscles kind of like pulling out and you get a nice stretch. But we block the hand underneath because then it keeps the shoulder down and everything else. The little caveat from this is we turn the head at 45-degree angle. We pull it from back here and go that way. Okay, and get a nice stretch there, and that really seems to help. Can you feel that? Yes. Okay, some people that give those tension headaches and everything else right up in here, that one really helps with that. Okay, I would strongly suggest that. And then we always want to do the other side. We always want to do these equal on both sides. So you start flat and level, and then we turn once you're there, and you want to hold these for about 3 to 5 seconds at a 45, and you get that nice stretch through, and you can kind of see some of the stretching that's going on. Okay, so a lot of people that work at desks complain of wrist and forearm tension and everything else from typing, playing with the mouse, or whatever else. So we're going to show a couple stretches for that. So they're pretty simple. We're going to take, one arm out straight. You're going to stretch it right here. You should feel a nice stretch underneath. And it's just super simple. Then from that position, you're going to turn it and flip it. And you're going to feel the stretch on the top. Okay. Then what you want to do is you actually want to take and rotate this wrist. Good. So it's going to stretch a little different. You feel how that stretches the wrist, the back of the forearm a little bit different. Correct. And then bring it down for me. Good, and you can kind of feel how it stretches this part a little bit different. Now, if you don't look super silly or anything like that, or you find that a little hard to do, that's okay. I wasn't insulting you. That's not what I meant. Is you can also do this with a table. So if you want to do with me, you can do your hands here, and you can lean over the top, and you get a much deeper stretch because you can use your body weight then. And then you would flip your hands around, and you would pull back, right? Okay, what you want to make sure on this one is that you don't bring your fingers over the edge, right? And that's where a lot of people, and you can, if you drop your fingers over the edge, you'll feel a difference in that stretch, right? It's not as challenging. Then you take your wrist here, and you typically want to do this on a soft, like whether it's a bed or something like that, as opposed to a counter, because it's a little hard. And you want to lean back, and you want to keep those elbows as straight as you can during all of these stretches. And then you want to pull it this way. And you can feel that stretch, right? Okay, good. All right, so the next stretch that we're going to show is for forward head carriage, which a lot of people do from texting, typing, driving, etc. And it's called a chin retraction. So you look straight ahead, and you basically just try to drive your chin straight back, okay? And that stretches out the front of the neck. People, again, that get headaches and tension up through here, this will help with those tension headaches and such. And you just want to do that a few times. Go ahead and try. Just a couple of them, and it's harder than you think. I hope you're sitting there at your desk while you're watching this and trying a few of them, because it is not super easy. It's not a motion that we do unless you're like dodging a lot of punches that are thrown and you're constantly pulling your head back. You're probably not doing this a whole lot. All right, so the next stretch that we're going to do is for tight hip flexors. When you're seated at a desk all day, every day, your hip flexors become tight. Psoas and a bunch of other ones as well, rectus femoris. And so a lot of times you get tightness behind the knee as well as tightness in the hips. The one that we're going to focus on right now is for the hips. We're going to do a stretch called Warrior 2. It's a little similar from the yoga. If you don't mind demonstrating for me, you kind of start with your feet. I want them about double the width of your shoulder at 90 degrees. You're going to kind of lunge forward. You can turn your hips like that and keep your chest up. And you should feel a nice stretch through the front, correct? Okay, good. And then we always want to do both sides. And so you can see that her feet are at 90 degrees. You can see that her hips are turned forward, which is an important part, as well as your chest is up. And you bend to the front knee. If you don't feel it enough, just lunge a little further and you'll feel it more. A lot of times you'll see people compensate. They start to get here and they're like, I don't feel it, because they're leaning over to compensate for psoas, because that all goes all the way up to the low back, or they're getting low back pain when they do this. That means you do need to lean forward and compensate a little bit because you're jamming the low back too much. All right, so we're still in phase one. These are still all beginner stretches, but these are the ones that are going to start to get a little bit where you might not want to do them in the office. And so we're going to stretch the back of the knee a little bit. You can feel a stretch right behind the back of the knee. And that's what ultimately you're trying to do, because when you're seated, that knee is like at 90 degrees, or some people even kick it up underneath, and it gets really tight underneath there. What you want to do is you want to grab your toe also, if you can, and pull back, and you'll stretch that calf a little bit as well. All right, so the next stretch we're going to show is like a Cobra stretch, if you're familiar with some of those. But if you don't mind lying down on the floor, again, a lot of these are hard to do in dress pose. That's one of the reasons I asked you to come help me. And you're going to start like that. You go up to the elbows to where you can feel it. If you're tight, you'll feel this through the front lower abdomen, maybe a little bit through the legs, the top of the legs. From this position, change to one elbow and grab your other leg with that elbow. If you sit at a desk a lot, you'll struggle to get your foot back here. And what that does is that gets a really good stretch through here, okay? And then you're going to try the other side. And again, you can see that there's a little bit of tightness there, but that's okay. Everyone has some to some degree, right? You can let go. And then from here, what we're going to do is we're going to do a kind of a stage 2. You're going to go, up onto your hands. And ideally, you want to try to keep your pelvis, if you can come around this way, pelvis on the floor, and you feel the lower stretch. Now, if you have lower back pain, you may want to hold off on doing this one until you feel comfortable in the others, because again, like the other psoas stretch, it can kind of jam the low back a little bit, but you can feel that in your lower abs and everything, correct?
Yes.